Hi everyone, today I'm covering Retroid's latest handheld, the Retroid Pocket Flip. The Flip, as the name implies, is Retroid's first clamshell handheld, and hopefully not their last, as clamshells are relatively rare in the Retroid handheld space, and there's a lot to love about them. Retroid's first attempt is surprisingly good. Inside the Flip, we've got the same base specs as the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus, so we've got the Unisoc Tiger T618 CPU and Melee G52 GPU, 4 gigs of RAM, a 4.7-inch touchscreen, and 128 gigs of onboard storage. Unique to the Flip is the slightly bigger 5000 mAh battery, the Hall effect sliders for analog sticks that do click in, active cooling, analog triggers, programmable M1 and M2 buttons. The Flip is available in a handful of colours, with me picking the watermelon colour alongside the Flip carry case. My carry case came with a foam insert, which is unlike the initial shipped cases, but this really saved the case for me, as it allows you to remove the insert and use the case with the official grip attached, or just store the Flip in the case itself. Of course, one of the benefits of the clamshell design is the inbuilt protection, so it's almost an optional accessory unless you're adverse to scuffs or scratches on your case. Straight out the box, the Retroid Pocket Flip has a great first impression. It looks great, and although the watermelon transparency isn't as clear as the initial renders made it look, it still does look good, though the black colour option will almost certainly be the most subtle colour scheme to go for. On the top of the Flip, you have the 4 shoulder buttons on a slight slant that works for its ergonomics. The M buttons on a good angle to support this too, as well as the USB-C and micro HDMI out. On the front, we've got the power button and headphone jack. Underneath, you see the stereo speakers and fan outlets. On the left side, we have the micro SD slot, and on the right, the volume control buttons. The big difference with the Flip's control schemes are, of course, the sliders. The sliders are, to their merit, the best sliders I've used on a handheld, first party or otherwise, with them feeling very similar to the 3DS's slider. They click in with a bit of pressure too, and they've got a surprising amount of control to them, so I found myself liking them much more than I initially thought I would. With that said though, they are still sliders, so still feel more restrictive to me compared to the traditional analog sticks. The start and select buttons are almost too small for me, and I wish the centre space was utilised in some way, even if it was a couple of Android navigation buttons, as the screen's hinge occasionally gets in the way for me when scrolling up. When using the L1 and R1 buttons, I find my fingers do rub a bit against the other side of the hinge and screen, though I do have larger hands, so it's likely this won't be a problem for the majority. In the hands, the Flip is overall comfortable though. It sits well, and for D-pad and button focus play especially, it's very comfortable to play. The Flip is only getting uncomfortable with the more modern control schemes, which alongside the sliders make the Flip not my go-to for streaming games. The D-pad and buttons are both standouts though, with them being incredibly responsive and feeling great, with a good amount of resistance and response to each. Overall, I'd say for retro gaming, the Flip's controls are great, with the only issues becoming a problem when using them in a modern control scheme constantly. For those new to Retroid handhelds, their recent handhelds have included a really great first-time launcher with the ability to choose to install some pre-configured and sometimes even optimized versions of a lot of the most used apps. I really like this feature as it goes a long way to minimize setup time, and is really useful for those new to Android too. Retroid's own launcher is getting better and better, and again really helped for newcomers or setting up the handheld for someone less technically inclined, and the option to use stock Android is always there for those used to the Android interface with no launchers on top. Overall, the Android experience is really good on Retroid handhelds and has come leaps and bounds since the Retroid Pocket 2 days. In fact, the Flip and Pocket 3 Plus are some of the most easiest Android handhelds in terms of setup because of Retroid's work here. So I'll cut some gameplay footage now and summarise back up at the end.
Commander. Say again. The bridge is ours. Want to check old radio messages? Press start pause, then find the mission log using the L and R buttons. Those thundered woods sting a little bit, huh? Use those fallen logs as cover, Commander.
So overall, although I don't think the Flip is worth upgrading from the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus if you own it already, it's certainly worth a consideration if you're looking to pick up your first handheld. It plays retro games well, it has a lot of good things going for it, and overall is a well-made clamshell device. It has a few shortfalls in that it won't convert you over to sliders, it's quite loud to use, but if you're looking to pick up your first retro gaming handheld and love the idea of a clamshell design, the Flip is definitely worth a look. That's it for now though, thanks so much for watching.